Again, good evening, everyone, and thank you for attending. We appreciate it. Now that my wife's here, we can start. Again, thank you to the board and the trustees for attending the meeting. As we've been saying now for a couple of months, the meeting has been adjusted to allow for social distancing. We do require wearing a face mask, so thank you for doing that. If possible, remain 6 feet away from your pod, however you're defining that. The video of this meeting is being broadcast on cable television, YouTube, and will also be available on Facebook and posted to the village website. At this time, I would like to ask Clerk Burns to call the roll.
Certainly. Trustee Augustine.
Here.
Trustee Gale.
Here.
Trustee Holder.
Here.
Trustee Katina.
Here.
Trustee McCarty.
Here.
Trustee McGee.
Here.
President Kukler.
Here. And if we can, we have 3 former village presidents, so if they could come forward and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, I think that would be fantastic. I know that we also have former trustee Mark Langen here. I'll try to think of a job for him, but for now, thank you for coming. We appreciate it. And anybody else that I've missed, I do appreciate everybody coming out today. It's obviously a real special meeting. We have 2 trustees and a clerk that are retiring, which means we have 2 new trustees coming on board, as well as a new village clerk, which is exciting. Before we get into that, I want to congratulate Shawana for her victory in a 2-year term, and Trustee Gale for his victory in the 4-year term. That's fantastic and well earned. They've both been great addition, or have performed great service for the board, and that's wonderful. We're also going to be swearing in 2 new police officers, and we appreciate that they're out here today and their families. We really do treat the police department, the fire department, and all our public works, all the employees as family, but police especially. We know that it's hard when the officer leaves their house for that day, and we appreciate the sacrifice that the family makes. So thank you so much for that, and we're looking forward to that part of the meeting. So let me begin by talking a little bit, and hopefully not too much longer, about COVID-19. Currently, vaccines are available for anyone 16 years and older. I heard that that's shortly going to be moving to 12 years old and older, and I would encourage everybody to please get vaccinated. There's vaccination centers, and there's also pharmacies, and your primary care physician can now administer the shots. So there's really no excuse. Get vaccinated. If anybody needs assistance in trying to schedule their vaccination, you can call the IDPH hotline at 833-621-1284. Governor Pritzker has announced that the entire state will move into the bridge transition this Friday that does allow our restaurants and stores a little more freedom, a little more capacity. Again, when indoors, we encourage everyone to wear a mask, and always we encourage everyone to shop and dine in Lagrange. After a 28-day monitoring period, barring any significance in COVID metrics, the state could move to phase 5, which is Illinois restored, and that would end all restrictions, regulations, or at least that's the plan. So again, please get vaccinated, wear your mask, socially distance, and wash your hands. Earlier this evening, the Liquor Commission met to review and discuss the application for a Class A liquor license for Giuseppe and Paolo, which is going to be GP Italiano at 1 South Lagrange Road, the former Alturo restaurant. It's going to be open with Paul from Paul's Pizza, who's also, one more day, the mayor of Westchester. But they were in today. They're excited about opening. They're hoping to be open sometime in June. It's going to be a modern Italian fare. It will be open for dinner 7 days a week. And so we're looking forward to that. Again, that license will be up in 2 weeks for consideration by the village board. Before we move on, we have Bill Holder, who's going to give us an update on the hospital. And Bill's been giving us since the beginning of COVID. It's been really informative, and we appreciate his efforts. And we'll talk more about how much we're going to miss him, but to start.
Thank you, Mark. And I hope you won't miss these reports as we hopefully someday soon move beyond this, the grips of COVID-19. Our numbers at the hospital remain stable. Last time I spoke to you, there were 14 people in the hospital with COVID-19. Now there are 13. So they have remained stable. 13 includes a very good friend of mine who's only 48 years old. So please, as Mark mentioned, and as we have said almost on every interaction, please get vaccinated, please take advantage of it, and please be safe. People are getting more and more vaccinated and more confident, and consequently using the ER as well as the other healthcare facilities and physicians. So please, if you're someone that has been putting off healthcare, please don't do that. Please go see your physician. Please go use the hospital. There are separate paths for those that have COVID. They're sequestered in a whole wing. So there's nothing to fear with regard to going to see your physician or the hospital. Also, I'm very pleased to say this is Nurses Week. So I just wanted to give a shout out to all the nurses in our community and thank them for their service, which has been yeoman's work through this pandemic, to say the very least. So that's it from the hospital.
Thank you, Bill. It's much appreciated. And not only is it Nurses Week, it's also Police Memorial Week. In 1962, President John Kennedy designated May 15th as Peace Officers Memorial Day in honor of federal, state, and municipal peace officers who have been killed or disabled in the line of duty. Each year, the calendar week in which May 15th falls is called National Police Week, which would be this week. In Illinois alone, there's been 1,134 police officers who have lost their lives in the line of duty, including Lagrange police officer Byron Porter in 1923 and Lagrange Police Sergeant Charles Blanchard in 1933. This week, Lagrange police officers will affix a black memorial band to their badges in recognition of the sacrifice made by Officer Porter and Officer Blanchard, along with all the officers that have lost their lives in the line of duty. We as a board and as a village recognize and appreciate the sacrifices that all of our police department makes in serving our village. We appreciate the commitment that they have to the residents, to the visitors, and to our businesses. We also want to recognize the recent retirement of police officer Julie Burrell, who served the village with pride since 2001. And it's a great accomplishment, and we wish her all the best. Memorial Day is coming up, and the Robert Coulter Jr. Post 1941 in Lagrange will commemorate Memorial Day on Monday, May 31st, with a memorial ceremony at Lyons Township High School North Campus beginning at 9 a.m. There'll be a ceremonial bell ringing honoring those Lagrange area residents who have given their lives of service to our country from the Civil War to the present time. A final ceremony and commemoration will be held at the post at 900 South Lagrange Road at 12 p.m. Moving on, the LGBA downtown, last week was National Small Business Week, and we encourage everyone to continue to support our businesses by shopping and dining in Lagrange. Over the next few weeks, our downtown and West End business districts will feature LGBA's annual summer art exhibit this year, Come Sit, Stay, and Play in Lagrange. The village and the LGBA will be honoring the 75th anniversary of the Lagrange Pet Parade, which will be held on September 18th with a special exhibit geared to pets and the people who love them. The Come, Sit, Stay, and Play Lagrange will be an exhibit of dog houses and lounge chairs, and sponsored by dozens of local businesses working with local artists who design and paint them for display. In September, the artwork will be auctioned, and the proceeds will benefit local nonprofits. And again, more information about the Pet Parade is always available on the Lagrange Business Association's website, lgba.com. It's starting to warm up, so we're going to have the farmers market, has already started, and will continue every Thursday morning from 7 a.m. to 1 p.m. It's on the outside of Village Hall on Harris Avenue. We also will be having the Lagrange Carnival, which will be Friday, June 4th, and continue through Sunday, June 6th, again on Harris Avenue between Lagrange Road and Ashland. All events will be operated in compliance with the requirements of the applicable state public health guidelines. And if you're looking for more information, go to the lgba.com. Mike O'Connell and his family have come up with the idea to host in conjunction with Working Bikes, to host a bike drive on Saturday. The nonprofit group Working Bikes will be hosting at the O'Connell House from 9 a.m. to noon, May 15th. Working Bikes gives donated bicycles new life by redistributing them as tools of empowerment in local communities. Over 100,000 people have benefited from this program. It's a wonderful program. Adult bikes in a repairable condition and gently used kids' bikes will be accepted. The O'Connells, Mike and Carol, live at 201 South Edgewood. Again, 201 South Edgewood, next Saturday morning from 9 to noon. Thank you. And Andre, is there a village manager report?
One item, Mr. President, the Village Hall will be closed on Monday, May 31st in observance of Memorial Day. A full complement of public safety personnel will be available in the event of an emergency, and regular business hours will resume on Tuesday, June 1st. Thank you.
Thank you, Manager Peterson. At this time, I normally ask if there's any public comments regarding matters on the agenda. I will ask that, except for if anybody wants to comment about the retiring trustees or clerk. I'd ask that we hold that a little bit, and I'll call that in a few minutes. So any other comments on matters that are on the agenda? And Trustee Holder's pointing out that I probably should go back and handle the police officer swearing in before we do the consent agenda, and I think that does make sense. So at this time, I would ask that Bianca Reyes and her family come forward for the swearing in. And as they're coming forward, I'll read a little about Bianca. On Friday, January 15th, 2021, the Board of Fire and Police Commissioners appointed Bianca Reyes to the position of probationary police officer to fill an existing vacancy. Bianca most recently worked as a human resource generalist and previously interned as a legal assistant with the Siegel Law Group. Bianca has a Bachelor's of Art degree in political science with a minor in human resources from Western Illinois University in Macomb. Bianca attended Addison Trail High School, graduated in 2016. On Thursday, April 29th, Bianca completed her training at the Police Training Institute at the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign. The academy training was for 14 weeks in duration. Bianca was returned to the Lagrange Police Department has returned for an additional 14 weeks of field training with a specially trained police officer. We're pleased to present Bianca Reyes to the village board, and at this time, Bianca and her family is ready to have the oath of office sworn.
Yes, I do.
And feel free to take pictures or have somebody take a picture for you.
Bianca, if you would raise your right hand and repeat after me. I,
I-
Bianca Reyes,
Bianca Reyes,
having been appointed to the office, of police officer
having been appointed to the office of a police officer
in the village of Lagrange,
in the village of Lagrange,
in the county of Cook,
in the county of Cook,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution
and the Constitution
of the state of Illinois,
of the state of Illinois,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and that I will faithfully discharge
the duties of police officer
the duties of police officer
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Congratulations again.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, Chief Supper.
And again, to Bianca's family, thank you for coming out and supporting her. It means a lot, I know, to Bianca, and it means a lot to us up here, so thank you very much. And now we have Alec Boucher. If Alec and his family can come up. And as they're gathering, I'll read about Alec. On Friday, January 15th, 2021, the Board of Fire and Police Commissioners appointed Alec Boucher to the position of probationary police officer to fill an existing vacancy. Alec most recently worked as a campus safety officer for the Public Safety Department at North Central College in Naperville. Alec has a Bachelor of Arts degree in Criminology, Law, and Justice from the University of Iowa in Iowa City. Alec attended Naperville Central High School, graduating in 2016. On Thursday, April 29th, Alec completed his training at the Police Training Institute at the University of Illinois in Urbana-Champaign. The academy training was for 14 weeks in duration. Alec has returned to the Lagrange Police Department for an additional 14 weeks of field training with a specially trained police officer. We are pleased to present Alec Boucher to the village board and welcome his family and support.
I just want to welcome Alec again because we saw him before at the police department before he started his police training, same with Bianca. So it's a pleasure to see you after those 14 weeks. Congratulations on your completion.
Thank you, sir.
After me, I, Alec Boucher,
I, Alec Boucher,
having been appointed to the office of police officer
having been appointed to the office of police officer
in the village of Lagrange,
in the village of Lagrange,
in the county of Cook,
in the county Cook,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution
and the Constitution
of the state of Illinois,
of the state of Illinois,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and that I will faithfully discharge
the duties of police officer
the duties of police officer
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
And again, to the Boucher family, thank you very much for coming out tonight. It's real appreciative. We appreciate the confidence that you're showing in our village by having Alec join. So thank you very much. Moving on. At this time, I would ask if Clerk Burns could read the items on the consent agenda.
Certainly. Matters on the consent agenda will be considered by a single motion and vote because they have been fully considered by the board at a previous meeting or have been determined to be of a routine nature. Any member of the Board of Trustees may request that an item be moved from the consent agenda to current business for separate consideration. There are a few items. Item A, Agreement 2021 Sewer Televising Program. Item B, Local Painting Project. Item C, Minutes of the Village of Lagrange Board of Trustees regular meeting, Monday, April 26, 2021. Item D, Consolidated Voucher 210510.
Thank you, Clerk Burns. And we do not have any matters under current business. So, and just to confirm, Manager Peterson, we did not have any public comments submitted on the agenda items, correct?
That is correct.
Thank you. So at this time, I'd entertain a motion.
Then I move that we accept the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Thank you, Trustee Holder and McCarty. Their last official acts, I think. So congratulations on that.
I got it right finally.
And you're keeping me on my toes for sure. Beth, I know you have a comment, and then we can ask if there's any others.
Well, as previously stated, I recuse myself from voting agenda items as related to our village prosecutor.
Thank you, Trustee Augustine. Any other comments before we go to a vote? Clerk Burns, if you could conduct a vote, please.
Certainly. Trustee McGee. Trustee Katina.
Aye.
Trustee Gale.
Aye.
Trustee Augustine.
Aye.
Trustee McCarty.
Aye.
Trustee Holder.
Aye.
And it passes unanimously. Moving on now to the recognition of the retiring village officials. I would ask if there's anybody in the audience that would like to make any comments. Then what we're going to do after that, I will briefly make some comments going in order of Trustee McCarty, Trustee Holder, Clerk Burns, and then I will ask the trustees if they have any comments, and then I will read a resolution that we have for all of them before we vote on each one to be the resolution to be approved. So at this time, I would ask if anybody in the audience has any comments. President Livingston.
Mr. President, members of the board, actually, I have several questions on item A, the televising of the sewers.
Your address first.
No, it's a pleasure. Yeah, it's a pleasure to be back in this room of community and warmth and decision-making. We're here to commend Trustee Holder McCarty and Clerk Burns. It almost seems impossible to fill shoes, and they probably said that about those that you replaced. You've seen everything beating against these windows here, snow, rain, pandemic, and you've each brought your own skills and perspective and strengths from outside these walls to the Village Hall, and we're a better community for it. And we know, I must tell you that despite the fact you're passing your own gavels, not everybody in the village is necessarily attuned to your transition, so you may still get the occasional call. And I know that you will be engaged as community members, as fellow Lagrangers, to continue to provide gifts to the village that you have. So thank you, thank you, thank you. You've set the bar to new levels. Clerk Burns has tied us to our history, but always keeping the all-important eyes forward on that next horizon. A point of personal privilege, I was able to have a wonderful time before this meeting with my predecessors, Liz Asperger and Tim Hansen. And, you know, you can never, when I served as village president, I always could count on them. We'd go out to dinner once a year. I'd pick up the bill. So, Mark.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I know where that was going.
Okay. Just saying, Deanne. You know, really, it's a village that does embrace its past, but does look forward to the trustees that are being reelected or elected for the first time. Thank you in advance. You know, this is a village that sets aside its Washingtonian policies and its Springfield policies. There's one political party in this town, in this room, and it's the Lagrange political party. And so to Paul and Shawana and Mike and Lou and Mike and everybody and Beth, you're part of an unbroken line to Franklin Cossett. And I know you'll make us proud, as you already have in this very challenging year, but what presents many opportunities ahead. And of course, I'll just end with, you can't count out your great team, your great village team on the day-to-day basis. Andre, great to see you again. I do miss getting a list from you and me handing a list off to you, but I know Mark stepped in and then some on that. But we're very fortunate in this village to have par excellence. But thank you, Dave, Bill, and John. Mission accomplished, well done, and good luck.
Thank you, President Livingston. So first up is Dave McCarty. Dave, is Mark Langen coming up? Okay. I did not want to cut him off.
Gentlemen, what a group of outstanding representatives of the village. John, you've done a great job. Quietly, you add so much class to the clerk role, did so many great things behind the scenes to move Lagrange in the history and in front of everybody. Wonderful job. Bill, always the advocate for the village of Lagrange and represented us as best that we could be. You were always a bright eye, very positive about what we had going on. Enjoyed it. Dave, the village downtown looks so much like it does because all the great work you did. Both you and Dave you and Bill did all that work on those other commissions before you got here. I know when I was on the board, I went to you every time we were doing something with the Plan Commission and doing some work because of your vast knowledge and your subtle opinions. You had a few opinions. I do think an idea we should have for the village is just publish Dave McCarty's one-liners. I think that should be a part of the Historical Society, and it would be very valuable and make great reading. But it's been a pleasure. I served with you gentlemen and enjoyed it, and we did some great work together. And I thank you for your hard work and doing such a great job representing this village.
thank you, Trustee Langen. He said everything I was going to say, so, no. Moving on to Dave first. Dave, as Mark Langen said, so much of the ideas of what we want came through your real fingers, of what we wanted the downtown Lagrange to look like, what we wanted our residential streets, blocks to look like. Your service on this board in that area was foundational and so important. So many times I would, when I was a trustee and even as president, I would get a matter not knowing, should this be approved, not, where should I vote? And I would default to, well, if Dave goes for it, I'll go for it. If he doesn't, I'll support that because he knows. And one of the projects that sticks in my mind was a commercial building that was being built. And Dave and I were at one of the early pre-planning meetings. And Liz might have been on the president at the time. And Dave asked right away, well, I don't see how the garbage truck's going to come in there to be able to service any garbage or sanitation. This won't work. And I thought to myself, I wouldn't even thought to ask that. Even the next one, I won't even think to ask that. What a contribution that he makes here. I'm not sure that I'm making any contribution, but I knew right then and there, just follow Dave's lead on those type of issues. So it's been great. It will definitely be missed. Again, his one-liners were great. He's had a couple this year that were fantastic. Got a lot of press, a lot of comments. It's something we'll miss. And I'd be remiss not to say that if long as Dave continues to say within 5 years we'll have driverless cars and parking won't be an issue, he will be correct. And I'm not sure when, but if he keeps saying it, he will absolutely never be wrong. So continue on with that. At this time, I would like to open it for the trustees, and then I'll read a resolution and we'll vote on whether or not to pass the resolution. So, trustee.
Thanks, President Kukler. So I'll just say one thing, Trustee McCarty. I know that going forward, I will have you in my head whenever we are having a zoning issue, a planning issue, because of your fierce advocacy and strong opinions with respect to how things should develop and grow. I guess I'll add a couple things. I will always remember the driverless cars as well, that for sure. But then also the idea of keeping us looking forward. We've got, these parking lots in the area. These are places that need to be filled in with development. We need to grow and we need to continue to develop as a community. So I thank you for that. I thank you for your service to the board. And I look forward to hearing you both in my head and in person going forward.
Trustee Holder. Sorry.
David, I talked you into serving, didn't I? And wow, it's been. Many years ago, I sat next to Dave on the Plan Commission. That was my first introduction to him and Steve, the chairman back then. And one-liners that we can't repeat in this room. And I've learned so much. I mean, Dave was part of what was the original one, the historical group or?
Heritage and Architecture.
Heritage and Architecture. I mean, my goodness. I mean, we're not kidding when we say that how the downtown is shaped. This man's had no small hand in it. And then how he has stayed involved over the years is a testament to his deep love for this village and the people in it. It's a work never done to Dave. And Dave, your work in helping me and helping us all move forward and do so smartly instead of forgetting about the garbage trucks will always be appreciated and always be part of how I think about things. Thank you. And thank you so much for what you brought for all of our efforts as we tried to do our best for the citizens of this great village.
Thank you, Trustee Holder. Any other comments? Beth?
I sure will. I sure do. Dave, as I learned from you, correct me if I'm wrong, you moved to Lagrange with your young family, and within a month or so, you were contacted to serve on a commission. So that's how long this guy has been volunteering his time for our town, and that's pretty impressive. I would say that, Dave, you're a great example of why a board filled with trustees having diverse skills and experiences is so important. You see things differently. I mean that very positively. And you see things that often others don't, because you build things from scratch for a living. And you ran for trustee only after serving on, I believe, every commission that there has been. So you really understand ordinances and, as Lou said, zoning as an issue and why it's important. And that adds so much value, that talent adds so much value to our town. You always speak your mind, we know that. That's important. I think we all mostly do, but just not as creatively. And I think we all, again, appreciate your toughness on appeals, and we've all learned from that, and that'll sink in. So that's going to be left behind, what we've learned from you and listened and heard. But you've used your experience as a visionary to help chart paths for the village in strategic ways, our planning, our building, our design, and the aesthetics of things. Not to mention your kindness, wit, and incredible sense of humor have made it a true pleasure to serve with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Augustine.
I'd just like to say that I haven't had the privilege of knowing Dave as long as some of you, but for the 13, 14 months that I have known him, he's a wonderful guy, a great asset to this community, a man of so much wisdom and knowledge about Lagrange. My first couple of meetings, sitting in and hearing Dave, I was very intimidated by him because he knew so much, and I just felt like there was no way I could ever measure up to a person like him. And so you've been a great inspiration to me, and I just hope that I can be half of the trustee that you've been just the year that I've known you. I just wish you the best.
Thank you, Trustee McGee. Trustee Kotinik.
Thank you, Mr. President. If I may, I'm going to provide comments of recognition for all three outgoing public servants at this time.
Sure.
Okay, so I'm going to start by going back to 2016. I was a newbie sitting outside of this dais looking to be sworn in as a village trustee, and I have to admit, I was flat out intimidated. Looking in front of me was like looking at joining the 1927 Yankees, but instead of the likes of Combs, Koning, Ruth, Garrett, Musial, Lazary, I faced the prospects of joining Langdon, Kukler, Livingston, McCarty, Holder, and Burns. These were men entrenched for years, governing our village to growth, prosperity, and making Lagrange a place where there would be and is a great quality of life to those who choose to live here. I was welcomed onto the board and mentored and tutored by the best, those always with the best interests of the village in mind. And as we all know, we all go through this cycle of life and times where time changes and we move on to other things. Well, that time has already come for some. Trustee Langdon, President Livingston, who served so graciously over the years. But today it is time to honor and recognize three more of my original cast as we bid them farewell and thank them for a job well done. To start, I would like to say it has been an honor and a privilege serving with each of you. Trustee McCarty, my recognition of you in my first draft originally started out as a brilliant soliloquy, a long lead-in, colored with patriotic red, white, and blue, the triumph of good versus evil. But noting the many members that we must recognize today, and in the interest of time, I decided to refine my thoughts and cut straight to the heart of the matter. 384. 384 hours. That's 9.5 working weeks that you have dedicated to the village. Now, that is probably a big underestimation, which does not include any of the time Dave spent on various commissions, preparation, travel time to and from meetings. More on that one later. And as I've earlier learned, that number is actually more reflective if I would have said 40 years of service. Yes, in some role or capacity, service of 40 years to this village. I've always been able to count on Dave to serve as a subject matter expert whenever it came to discussions and decisions around plan and ZBA commissions. I always appreciated Dave's passion and integrity to the letter of the law. While I've always felt there needs to be a bit of more gray in some of these matters, I also appreciate how exceptions turn into other exceptions that open the floodgates in the future. Dave is the guy that is smarter than he gives himself credit for. I consider myself the finance guy on the board, so I always got a kick out of Dave during our budget sessions when he would stop a meeting with a random question, and always he would have the correct answer by himself. Dave would say, well, hold on, if we take 14 million, divide it by 16,000, divide that by 4 and multiply by 400, what's that, about 1.4 million? And I'd punch it in my calculator and I say, Dave, yes, you're right. And yes, it actually was right. Or the time when Dave thought our meeting was going to be virtual, and when trying to log in at 7:27, noticed the meeting was actually at Village Hall, and still made it on time. If Dave has brought anything to this dais, it's passion for everything that he does, and is everything in the best interest of the village that he loves. For that, I thank him. Going forward, I have a couple hopes for Dave in the future. One, that everyone he interacts with going forward be named President Livingston. This will make his conversations with others much easier for him. To my point on travel time above, I hope that every meeting you attend in the future, Dave, is just a block or two away. Third, that all parking garages be redeveloped into more efficient space as Jetson's model of the future transportation takes shape. Yes, Dave, your vision of the future will be correct at some point. And lastly, Dave, to whatever or wherever your passion leads you next, that you have the time to do it and find deep fulfillment and happiness. Trustee McCarty, thank you for all your service, and I wish you all the best going forward. Trustee Holder, you can take Trustee McCarty's 384 and double that. You already know what that number means, and your time spent serving Lagrange has been pointed and with the highest level of attention to detail. You, similar to Trustee McCarty, are a wealth of knowledge, even far beyond your personal recognition of it. Your being a representative of the village and a liaison to both the hospital and the golf course have been seamless. And you were or never are afraid to call out something that harms the village. It's never been hidden that your primary objective is only what is in the best interest of this village. On a personal level, Bill, I probably learned the most from you on this dais. The preparation that you use for meetings is second to none. If in our booklets there's a questionable item buried somewhere deep on page 137, you will find it and you will question it. You've taught me that there is no substitute for preparation, and if I can ever be even as half as prepared as you have been and are, I will be in really good shape. You set a high bar. But you've also taught me that even though we have all the diligence, research, subject matter detail, the residents don't and won't have the ability or time to read up on these matters. So bringing sound fundamental questions and challenges out into the public domain only reinforces the strong work that is delivered by our village staff. I've learned not to take these things for granted. I also thank you for your kindness. It was after my first time to read and present an agenda item to the public, an 8-page financial topic, to which I admit I was somewhat terrified. Despite my preparation, I'm sure it was painful for the listening public. As I was leaving, you came up to me as a big brother and said, "Hey, nice job on that." Your reassurance and trust meant a lot to me. Similarly, I happened to catch you on a train ride home shortly after that. We walked and talked together on our way home. It was a great conversation, and I appreciated your willingness to get to know me and at the same time, make sure I understood the responsibility we undertake when we take these oaths to the village. For you, Bill, my wishes are more simple, but going forward, I wish you a day that does not start at 3:30 a.m. Sleep in, maybe at least until 6. Then a sun-filled day with 18 holes of golf, good friends, and a nice drink at the end of the round. Put your feet up, Bill. You've earned every second of life to enjoy and relax. Trustee Holder, thank you for your service, and I wish you the best going forward. Clerk Burns. I wanted to start out with descriptive adjectives that I thought would best sum you up. So being old school, I took out my thesaurus and dictionary, and I started with the best word that I could find, gentleman. And lo and behold, I opened the dictionary to the page, and there it was, a picture of you. You are a model of consistency. You run a tight ship, as they say, with the highest level of professionalism and kindness. You've always been a willing mentor and a valuable contributor across our many group discussions, and always with the best interests of Lagrange in mind. Again, I'm going to go back in time, this time to 2015, prior to my running for office, and thinking, here I was, a Riverside guy running for office in Lagrange, and my knowledge in the history of the town was lacking. So as chance would have it, you happen to be running a monthly series on the history of this fine village with walking tours. So I signed up. The knowledge and pride you bestowed on me that day was certainly impressive, and I will never forget your passion to Lagrange. I will take that away from our time together. I will take away from our time together your organization, knowledge, dedication, but most importantly, your gentleman qualities, which is something I think we can all aspire to. It should not be a lost art in this world. My outgoing wish to you, John, is continuing your passions, whatever they may be, in this next part of your journey, and thanking you for your service to our country in one of the highest honors, a Marine. You displayed these qualities admirably, a collective commitment to success, to progress, and a steadfast loyalty. To you, John, job well done. Semper Fidelis. And I would be remiss if I didn't call out the collective sacrifices of these three men and their families, especially Dorothy, Denise, Judy, and all the children. Thank you for your sacrifices and for sharing your spouse and dad with us. In closing, to my outgoing colleagues, my best wishes and my gratitude for your outstanding service, and my best wishes to each of you going forward.
Very well said, Trustee Kotinik, and very well said, all trustees. Before we go on, I think it would be appropriate if Dorothy McCarty would stand and that we could give her a round of applause because she did sacrifice while Dave was at all these meetings. And just a little bit of context for Trustee Kotinik's comments about the Tom Livingston name. Dave would call me President Livingston. I assumed only when I was wrong and doing things like mistakes or something. I wasn't sure why, but I've been called President Livingston often up here, and it was always an honor. So we'll see if that continues. Who knows? Somebody else may decide to do that. It was always fine. I was like, if that's in the newspaper under President Livingston, that'll work. That's fine. At this time, and really, these dates, I think, are just going to astonish you. We're going to start back in 1985. I was a sophomore with Bill Holder's brother-in-law at Marquette University, not bettering the world by any means when Dave started bettering the world here in Lagrange. So for the recital of the resolution, it's really amazing. Whereas Dave McCarty has served as a village trustee for 8 years, from 2013 to 2021, as chair of the Environmental Quality Commission from 2017 to 2019, on the Building Board of Appeals from 1998 to 2013, on the Plan Commission from 1996 to 2007, on the Design Review Commission from 1991 to 1996, including as chair, and on the Heritage and Architectural Commission from 1985 to 1991, including as chair, generously sharing his time and experience for the betterment of the village. During his service as a village trustee and as a commissioner, Dave inspired his village board colleagues, fellow commission members, and many village residents into action, particularly as related to furthering environmental initiatives, identifying economic development opportunities, consideration of zoning matters, and enhancing village services. Dave has demonstrated outstanding leadership to the community throughout his years of service to Lagrange by his preparation, insight, and ability to synthesize complicated concepts thoughtfully and thoroughly. Dave is highly regarded for his studious and articulate manner of conducting the village's business, often raising or clarifying concepts and issues in a way that substantially advanced the Board of Trustees' deliberative process. A strong advocate for the village's businesses and social service organizations, Dave has been an outstanding ambassador for Lagrange, working to further economic development and enhance the quality of life for all residents in many ways. Dave's exceptional commitment to the duties of village trustee and throughout his 36 years of service has set an outstanding example for all citizens and elected officials to follow. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the village president, village clerk, and board of trustees of the village of Lagrange do hereby extend their deepest respect, appreciation, and warmest personal regards to Dave McCarty for his many years of public service. So at this time, I would entertain a motion to approve.
I move that we accept and propose.
And a second.
Second.
Thank you. Clerk Burns, if we could have a roll call vote.
Certainly. Trustee Augustine.
Aye.
Trustee Gale.
Aye.
Trustee McCarty.
Abstain?
Trustee McGee.
Aye.
Trustee Katina.
Aye.
And Trustee Hold.
Aye.
I guess it's still a unanimous passing with your abstention, but thank you very much. And we all promise to wash our hands if there's any handshaking going on, so we will do that.
If I may,
Yeah, oh, please,
President
please,
Livingston?
please. That would be a perfect timing.
As Mark and Tom have both pointed out, when it comes to trash and sewers, I'm the go-to guy around here. So, but more seriously, Dorothy and I have so much to be thankful for in our lives. But on top of the list must be moving to Lagrange as newlyweds back in 1983. We bought a house and we found a home. We are grateful to so many with whom we have shared our journey, and I am personally thankful for so many who have helped me along the way. First, of course, is Dorothy and my family. Thank you for allowing me to participate in so many ways over 38 years. Dorothy, you've provided critical counsel on key issues, but I know the most important advice you give me is what not to say. Thanks, Doak. You've always been there for me. I can't imagine how much trouble I'd get in without your wise guidance. To all those who've helped me along the way, three stand out above the rest. Tim Hansen, Janine McLaughlin, and Nancy Kinney were there in 1985 to welcome me on the Heritage and Architecture Commission. With your guidance and leadership, I began to understand Lagrange. Little things make a difference, every person counts, and the people make the community. And the new friends I've made since becoming a trustee, especially those at Davis Memorial AME Church, Pastor Moran, Brother Al Banks. You helped this wayward soul better understand the role of church and community, and the critical role Davis Memorial has played in making Lagrange a spiritually strong place to live. Dan Cook, Liz Asperger, Tom Livingston, Mark Langen, Bill Holder, Don Burns, You guys opened the door, you guided me to it, and when I hesitated, you kicked me in the butt. Thank you for helping me understand that community service is a privilege and a duty. Business leaders, Steve and Phil Palmer, Nancy Cummings, Steve Jasinski, Jerry Bergeon, Joan Smothers, Tom Murphy, Dan Schaub, Phil Fernaro, and so many others. You care about the whole community. Hard work makes a difference and people matter. Thank you for helping me understand how important that is. Thank you to the amazing village staff, Andre, Charity, Lou, Mike, Rob, Terry, and all the others and those before you, and to Village Attorney Mark Birkland. Thank you. Thank you all for your patience with me, and thank you for the wonderful looks during the board meetings when you have no idea what I might say next. And frankly, which by the way, I don't always know either. I do know that this is not just your job. It is a commitment to quality community, and that's another reason Lagrange is a special place. To all I've worked with on all the who volunteer time on our commissions, you make the hard decisions and provide the true guidance that keeps Lagrange running. Thank you for stepping up to the most thankless positions. To my support team on Madison Avenue and 7th Avenue, Tony and Sue, Barb and Paul, Wayne and Kathy, Don and Deb, and too many more to mention. To all those who have stopped to chat with me or send me an email, you all make this town a better place. And when Dorothy and I lost our daughter, you showed what a difference love and support make when we needed it most. Thank you. Which leads also to a special thank you to Beds, Pillars Community Health, and Community Memorial Foundation, Tina Rounds, Angela Kern, Greg DiDomenico. I didn't see how great the need was until you opened my eyes. The need never ends, and you never quit. Thank you. And to my fellow trustees, Mark, Mike, Lou, Beth, thank you for your patience, support, and respect. You make it easy to sit on this dais. You listen thoughtfully, and you consider thoroughly. And you are always understanding, even when it is sometimes another battle you don't really want me to fight. And to those who have recently stepped up, Shawana, Mike, Peggy, Paul, this town doesn't run itself. You got next. But before I leave, I'm going to take one last opportunity to stand on the soapbox. You've heard it before, but strong zoning protects the unique fabric of our community. Please keep an eye on lot coverage and impervious surfaces. Every drop matters. Taxes are good. They pave our streets, they keep our sewers working, and they are far more fair than fees and fines. And don't be afraid to sell off the parking lots. Our transit-rich location is not just an opportunity, it is a responsibility. We need to do more to take advantage of our ability to help the region reduce the carbon footprint. New residents and transit-oriented development are far better in the long run for village businesses and tax base than parking lots. Besides, ride share is a permanent change and the driverless car will be here before you know it. It's been a great ride and I'm proud to have ride shared with all of you. I wish I could do another 38 years. Thank you all.
A few months ago, I was quoted in the paper and saying, well said, Trustee McCarty, and I'll say it again, well said, Trustee McCarty. Very well said, and you will be missed, absolutely. So thank you very much. Moving on, Trustee Holder, and 12 years of service on this board. I met Bill shortly after he was elected, and he told me that his wife was a Marquette grad, and I asked her maiden name, and she said Kurtzel, and I was like, oh, I knew Steve at Marquette. And from that time, we became friends, very good friends. And so I will miss seeing you up here, but know that we'll see each other in the future. All right, so we have Jack Eck there too. All right, fantastic. Jack was a rugby player at Marquette, as I was, so we both have that in common. And he's much more reasonable at his age than I was at his age, so that's good too. But Bill, again, has served for 12 years on the board and really has been our rudder for the 12 years, consistent. Not that you knew where he was going to vote, but you knew that it was always going to be based on reason and that he wasn't going to be afraid of explaining it, of going out there and advocating why he thought it was important. And I think the trustees really did follow Bill's lead on many issues, especially the financial issues. For the last little over a year where I've been village president, you see more behind the scene things, the comments that trustees make with village staff. And there's definitely nobody better than Bill on that. Never critical of the staff, always inquisitive of what the motive was. Is there something else going on? Can you fill me in on these details? And just as importantly, on some routine matters where Andre would put out and said, let me know your thoughts, Bill religiously responded. And it's helpful for the staff to hear that, because sometimes if they don't hear any responses, they're like, did I hit send? Is anybody out there? And that never happened, because Bill would always say, well, let me address 3, 5, and 8. Here's my thoughts on them. And again, always something that would get me and say, okay, let's look at that. Let's make sure we're ready for that. Let's fine tune it if need be. And so that will really be missed. The institutional knowledge that we're losing with Bill leaving the board is tremendous. It's normal. That's why we have these staggered terms, but it's going to be a tremendous loss. As was commented, Bill's relationship with the hospital and the foundation, has been so helpful to us. Really informing us of the partnership that the village has with the hospital. And I didn't necessarily always see it. I've definitely seen it since COVID happened. They were there always as a resource for us, for our residents. And Bill has been advocating that for years, and he's spot on, absolutely right. So Bill, thanks for all your service. It'll be missed, but I know I'll see you frequently. And at this time, I would open it up to trustee comments. Trustee Gale.
Thank you, Mr. President. Bill, I'll keep it brief, but thank you for your service. Well, I think I just want to share one thought about each of you, but I'm happy to elaborate later if you'd like. You've always been a fierce advocate for the village, and I really want to thank you for that. And also, one of the things I've taken away from working with you is that you're a believer that there comes a point in time where you need to let others take the lead and others to take positions. Because I think you could sit on this board indefinitely if you wanted to, given your experience and your advocacy for the village. But that's a lesson I've taken away from your decision to, you're a believer in limiting the amount of time folks spend on these so other folks can have a chance. And so I appreciate you for doing that too. And again, all your service. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Gale. Trustee Augustine.
Hello, Bill. Well, we've heard a lot about all these guys tonight, and we're going to continue to hear some repeat business, and it's worth it. But I'll try to keep it a little unique here. Also probably pretty well known. Bill has a very calm and metered confidence. It plays well with his genuine sincerity and respect for this role that he has served in so well. When I was just a resident watching these meetings like you out there, I was often moved to hear his thoughts and arguments on certain issues. You could absolutely tell that he had studied deeply both sides of the issue. And even though we didn't agree on every issue, we certainly agreed on most, but not every issue. It was wonderful to work with him and collaborate and hear his side. And Bill is, in fact, one of the reasons I'm sitting here tonight. He was encouraging of me to consider the role and consider running, and I appreciate that. The role of trustee, if you study it, care deeply about it, and spend time listening to the residents and the businesses, it can be extremely time-consuming, well beyond what we see here at these meetings twice a month. And it can be stressful because you're making important decisions for the village that will be long-lasting. But Bill has always handled it with class and a deep knowing that anything worth doing is worth doing well. Thank you for representing the village for the last 12 years and beyond. And again, I'm grateful.
Thank you, Trustee Augustine. Joanna?
Trustee Holder, again, I haven't had the privilege of knowing you very long, but from the time that I've known you, you have always presented yourself as a very humble man, a man with great wisdom, great knowledge. You have set the bar so high. I just pray that I'm able to be half of what you have shown me. Your knowledge of the hospital and all the other things that you have brought to this board, the time that I've been here, has been such a benefit. Our community is so blessed to have someone like you, and I just hope that I can just be a portion of what you have been. And I wish you all the best in your endeavors, and blessings to you and your family. Thank you so much for your service.
Thank you, Trustee McGee. Trustee McCarty.
Thank you. Bill, you're right. You played an incredibly important role in getting me to join this board, and I thank you for that, and all the other people that did that. And you were sort of the recruiter-in-chief for Lagrange. You're out there for every aspect, it's a Christmas walk, it's the endless summer, you're there for Lagrange, and the pom-poms are going, and you are on top of the pile, making sure everybody's happy. And it's really inspiring to see, and it has inspired me, and it helped me to understand why this stuff's important. So thank you for that. And the other thing is, Trustee Kotinek pointed out, and everyone else has, your preparation. It's beyond the pale. You cannot, no one can question how hard you work. But unlike Trustee Kotinek, who it inspired him to work harder, I realized I could kind of take it easy on those things because I don't know what the heck he's talking about anyway. So thank you for that opportunity. It allowed me to worry about driverless cars.
Thank you, Trustee McCarty. So at this time, let's a round of applause. And we'll let Trustee Holder say a few words.
Well, thank you all so much for your kind comments. The check is in the mail. So, but first and foremost, I want to give thanks. I want to give thanks to God and for Him bringing me here to Lagrange. As I moved into my 9th house that I've owned 32 years ago, that I'm still in today, who would have thunk? A, I'd still be in the same house for more than 2 years, and B, that this would become such an incredible home and such an incredible village before my very eyes. As the first time I came downtown, about a third of the village was boarded up in 1990 because we'd hit some hard times and some big tenants had moved out. And I thought, I went home and I told my new bride, I said, oh my God, dear, I think we've moved into a dying town. Boy, was I wrong. So first and foremost, I want to give thanks to Denise and my family for being so generous or so thankful themselves that I was out of the house. But for allowing me to come down here after we were here for a few years and sit in a zoning board, a zoning meeting and ask some questions that I thought were interesting. And 2 meetings later, Pat Benjamin said, how would you like to be on the Zoning Board of Appeals? And so it began. To our police, our fire, our public works folks, I can't thank you guys enough. I mean, not only the danger that you keep us out of, but you're so important to the look and feel of this village. What goes on in this building isn't as visible to so many people immediately as it is all of you that keep us safe, that keep us comfortable, that keep us as a place that people aspire to be in, keep our streets clean up after our festivals, get the snow off the streets, and keep us safe. Thank you, and thank you. Thank you for your service, and thank you so much for all that you bring to this place that you all end up loving as well. Also want to give thanks to my fellow five horsemen who we began this journey kind of together under Liz's tutelage. Tom Livingston, Mark Langen, Dave McCarty, John Burns, and myself. We ran as a ticket, you might remember, and not without controversy ever in all of our elections, but I think the good guys won, and I think the good guys won for the right reasons. Also want to give thanks. As you heard, we've spent a lot of time on different village commissions, myself, the Zoning Board of Appeals, and the Plan Commission, as well as this board. But to the community leaders that Dave identified, the business people in town who are a lot more than just business owners, they care deeply about this village and not for selfish reasons. And also for all the participants on those commissions and how much time they give selflessly. And all because we're here because we care so deeply about this village. My thanks not just to Pat Benjamin, but Tim Hansen, to Liz, to Tom, to Mark, to Dave, to John. You know, when we look at what the village has become, and we start to look forward, I would charge all of you and those of you that are incoming with the following, and Dave started to touch on this. The look and feel of this village is critically important. And we're going to trust you all with this for our future, and hopefully the future of your children and our children, and all the folks that are aging in place here, as well as those that are considering moving in. Don't ever forget the essential character that is Lagrange. Never sacrifice it or dilute it for money. We get called Mayberry. But we've also been called the best downtown in the Chicago suburbs, the best residential commuter location in the Chicago suburbs, the best restaurant district, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. No other towns around here get that. And there's a reason we get it over and over again. All of you will help to perpetuate that, and I charge you with continuing and taking it a step up. Don't ever dilute it for money. We're in Mayberry. The latest fad that may come along may be a nice fad. Let's use cannabis, for example, something we didn't all agree on. We're Lagrange. When it's right for us, we'll do it our way, the way we do tobacco. We don't have tobacco stores. They're part of a larger entity. We don't have liquor stores. We have liquor sales that contribute mightily, by the way, to the tune of like $250K a year in tax revenue, but we do it the right way. We do it as part of restaurants. We do it the Lagrange way. We make it an experience for the whole family, including those who may be considering becoming families here. So it's a draw for existing residents, for the reason that the people stay. It's a draw for new residents, and also why people invest here, for businesses as well as places to live. There is an enormous number of people that started their businesses here and then moved here as a result of that experience. Invest your hearts and funds in that character. Invest the village's funds, because you're its heart, in that character. and preserve it, so we all may continue to benefit and grow as the shining example of what is truly best in the Chicago suburbs. And thank you for your willingness to step up and serve and give back, sometimes multi-generational, continuing that tradition and giving that example to these youngsters sitting here in the audience and the folks at home and the older folks that are watching us from home that want to know where their tax dollars are going and why, giving them comfort that that's being done not only prudently but in everyone's best interest. That's what we're all about. That's what Lagrange is about. Dave and others have used the word community. It truly is. This is a community of people, people of faith, people of education, and people with love. I wish you all the very best. Thank you for the privilege, the honor, and the blessing of being able to serve all of you. And I'll miss it. But I really, really wish you all well. Godspeed.
Bill, well said, very inspirational, and gives us a lot to live up to. Before we go on, if we can have Denise Holder stand up so we can recognize her and her sacrifice. So now to read the recital for Bill. Whereas Bill Holder has served as a village trustee for 12 years, from 2009 to 2021, on the Plan Commission from 2007 to 2009, on the Zoning Board of Appeals from 1999 to 2007, generously sharing his time and experience for the betterment of the village. During Bill's tenure, he was actively and diligently engaged in many challenging issues and initiatives which enhanced the quality of life for all residents. Bill has been a model of good governance as a passionate steward of the village's resources, strong support and advancement of economic development and infrastructure improvements, and the enhancement of village services. Bill has demonstrated outstanding leadership to and advocacy of the community throughout his years of service to Lagrange, along with his serving as the board chair of the Amita Health Adventist Lagrange Foundation and on the Adventist Midwest Health Board of Directors and other organizations contributing to the village's growth and vitality as a community. During his tenure with the village, Bill has demonstrated dedication and passion for public service by being studied and prepared to engage in the business of the village, accessible to and regularly communicating with residents, and able to effectively articulate village policies, further the deliberative process, and enhance decision-making. Bill's exceptional commitment to the duties of village trustee and throughout his 22 years of service has set an outstanding example for all citizens and elected officials to follow. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the village president, village clerk, and board of trustees of the village of Lagrange do hereby extend their deepest respect, appreciation, and warmest personal regard to Bill Holder for his many years of public service.
I'd like to move.
Thank you, Trustee
Proclamation
McCarty.
approved.
Second?
Thank you, Trustee Gale. Clerk Burns, if you could do a roll call vote.
My pleasure. Trustee McGee.
You're just saying yes, that that Bill's a good guy. I think that was an aye.
Okay. Trustee Katina.
Aye.
Trustee Augustine.
Aye.
Trustee Gale.
Aye.
Trustee McCarty.
Aye.
Trustee Holder, are you abstaining?
I'll abstain, or I'll let Dave vote for me.
There you have it.
It was close there, but it got it unanimous and with a little lobbying, so fantastic. It passes unanimously. And it almost seems unfair to have John have to go last. He doesn't get to say anything when the trustees are going on and on, but he will get his chance soon to talk. So John is served as clerk for the last 2 terms, 8 years. And during that time, when I was a trustee for most of them, I would notice that John really on the dais kept Tom on track, organized, and moving the meeting forward. And when it became apparent that I was going to attempt to fill Tom's shoes, I was like, Tom, is it like it appears that John really helps you keep on and knowing what you do next? And he said, absolutely. John will take care of you. Just follow his lead and you'll get through. And John, you've done that for every meeting since I started a year ago last February. So thank you so much. And I also noticed when I was a trustee that John wouldn't ask a lot of questions at our different meetings and things, but when he questioned something, it was spot on. It wasn't to just persuade the board, but to make sure that the board was learning everything that they needed to know to make their decision. And I always appreciated it. It again, wasn't every meeting, but when it happened, you knew if John's asking that question, probably 3 or 4 other people are thinking the same thing, and maybe all of us should be asking that question. I think we'll hear that John's service as clerk to the village, which was time-consuming and always professional, more importantly, was all of his other service to the village. Mainly the Historical Society, giving the tours that Mike Kotinik talked about, making the information to the residents that want to learn available, and bringing artifacts to the village, including volume 1 of the minutes. Probably wouldn't have occurred if John wasn't such a great liaison between the village and the Historical Society. So at this time, I would open it up to trustee comments. Trustee Gale.
Thank you, Mr. President. John, I want to thank you for your service, and I just wanted to share one thought about you that, among the many, with everyone else, and that is that every village needs a John Burns. Every village needs someone who, I kept thinking of the phrase, the keeper of the flame. I mean, you're someone who knows the history of our community, if you will, the culture, the identity of Lagrange, and you share that with anyone and everyone who wants to listen. And I think that is an invaluable service to everyone, and I look forward to going on as many tours as you can continue to give for however long you want to do it. So I thank you for that. And thanks for your service as the clerk.
Thank you, Trustee Gale. Joanna.
I would just like to say to you, John, that you were one of the very first persons after Mark that I spoke with upon my appointment as a trustee. You were very welcoming to me, and I would just like to wish you Godspeed in your next endeavors. God bless you.
Thank you, Trustee McGee. Trustee Holder.
John, thank you. Thank you for being part of our adventure. Thank you for being the fabric of Lagrange. You're such an important part. The role you played as clerk is almost kind of interesting in how visible it is versus how less visible your other important roles with regard to what you do to not only continue to reveal, but to help others rejoice in what is in this beautiful, beautiful village. So thank you for all of that work, all of that dedication, all that you brought to our meetings, both from a architectural as well as a Lagrange point of view. And I look forward to working with you again at some point in the future, my friend. And thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Holder. Trustee McCarty.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been a great ride. It's been a lot of fun. And as people have pointed out, you are sort of the village historian, the heart and soul of old-time Lagrange. And forgive me, but I have a confession to make. I only know where 3 of the 4 Frank Lloyd Wright houses are. So I'm sorry.
There's a tour coming up.
But the other
Dorothy
side,
knows all 4.
the other side of that is, I don't think people really realize how much of a strong advocate you are for social responsibility, for looking to the future. Your perspective is from the past, but all of our conversations have been predominantly about the future. The importance of Lagrange as a community, our key location as a transit-oriented, and how important it is that we make that impact on the carbon footprint. Strong advocate, working hard for it, and that makes a difference. And I think that's a really important thing that people need to know. So thank you for keeping that perspective too.
Thank you, Trustee McCarty. Trustee Augustine.
Thank you, President Kugler. I have to say, I didn't know too much about John before serving as trustee. I knew who he was, and I knew a bit about him. And I didn't know much about the clerk role either. I know a good deal about those things now, but still not nearly enough. And I think it's a role that we understand what the trustees do, but mainly by way of the vote. And John's not taking a vote, as you've probably noticed. But it doesn't mean he's not influential. He certainly has been to me, and I would suspect many others, because of all the things that have been said here tonight. He is deep thinking, he's kind, he's detail-oriented, he's tough, fair, and helpful. All the things you want in someone to help you do the right thing. And I've really admired your style and your demeanor. And like those before you, we are all just caretakers up here. And the behind-the-scenes work that the clerk does is no less important, and in many ways more important. And I would just say thank you very much for taking it so seriously, giving it so much depth. And again, with all of you leaving us tonight, big shoes to fill. I've seen a lot of big shoes to fill in my barely 2 years on this board, and it's going to be exciting with the new group, but it's going to be tough. I think we're going to be calling a lot of wrong names out there for a while, and that will be all in good. But thank you once again for everything that you've done and the way that you've done it. We all again, I keep saying grateful, but that's just the best word for it. Very thankful. Thank you, John.
Thank you.
And thank you, Trustee Augustine. John, some words you would like to say?
Well, as the quiet man, I'm going to let the cat out of the bag. I just have a few comments. But, the refrain, you've heard it from others here, is thank you, thank you, thank you. It's really a privilege and an honor to serve the village and to serve the board, but also to serve all of the residents. And I take great pride in that. But, I just wanted to talk a little bit about, you'll be surprised by this, but the past. And the past for me started with the village in the early 90s, when, as Bill mentioned, the downtown area it had fallen on hard times. It was not the look that we enjoy today. And there were groups you may have heard of, like Main Street. And there were other pillars of the community that really influenced and kind of recruited me into service. When I joined the Economic Development Commission, there were always a couple of people in the audience, and the commission is, comprised of 7 or 8 people, chair, and I had the privilege of serving as chair for a number of years, there were always two people that were coming to the meetings and mostly observing. But then after the meeting, they'd pipe up once in a while with a good question. And those people are people that you may have heard about: Janine McLaughlin and Nancy Kenny. So they kind of helped me understand the importance of listening, observing, and then making your contribution. Because they were always involved, and the Economic and Development Commission was not the only commission hearings that they were attending. I ran into Nancy one day, not too long ago, who said, you know, Janine and I were trying to figure out all those hours we spent at all those meetings. And they have influenced all of us, whether be it directly or indirectly. Past village trustees, past village presidents know that and know the value. I'll give you an anecdote. This kind of accidental meeting one day at one of the restaurants in the West End. I was getting off the train and stopping at this restaurant to pick up some food, take home. This was long before we were doing that on a regular basis. We are today. But in any event, there are a couple people sitting at one of the tables poring over blueprints. And being the inquisitive person that I am, and familiar with drawings and blueprints, I kind of leaned over to look in. One of those people turned around and said, "Oh, John, haven't seen you in so long." Well, it was Janine McLaughlin. And the other person sitting at the table with the blueprints was Andre. What they were doing was looking over the proposed improvements for the Stone Avenue Station, which many of you know is close to my heart because it's a station that I used for 30 plus years in and out of the city every day. Well, it wasn't long after that accidental meeting that I got a call for coffee with Janine and asked if I would run for village clerk. And I said, why would I do that? And what qualifies me to do that? Oh, you'd be great. You'd be this, you'd be that. And anyone that knows Janine knows you want to know about passion, have a conversation with Janine or Nancy Kenny. So I thought, well, you know, I was on the Economic Development Commission and chaired that commission and you know, had a feeling for that. I thought, well, this is another opportunity to contribute. And it was just a point in life, one chapter had closed and maybe this had opened. So I thought, well, that would be great. That would give me another chance to work with Liz Asperger. Because Liz and I were appointed to the Economic Development Commission on the same evening back in the early 90s, and that's how we met. So I called Liz and I asked to have coffee, conversation. And I began by saying, you know, I'm considering running for clerk, but I want to talk to you. And one thing that I'm thinking is you know, I'm looking forward, if I do that, for the opportunity to work with you again. And Liz said, well, I'm not running, which was my introduction to Tom Livingston. So obviously, I agreed to run as clerk. We had an election, ran with a good group, Dave, Bill, and Tom. So kind of the unbeatable, you know, the four horsemen, if you will. And they took me along for the ride. And it's been quite a ride, and I've had an opportunity, as I have said to others, to attend what I call Lagrange University. Because as clerk, you are an observer, you're kind of keeping track, you're keeping order to some degree. But you're learning about sausage making, okay? And you're learning about how legislation is deliberated, considered, voted upon, passed. But that's part of it. The other part is day to day, the village, which I'll call not Mayberry, but Lagrange. Bill has said our way. I call it our town. And Liz Asperger, when she ran for president, had a great slogan, and that was, I love Lagrange. I heart Lagrange, and we had big white buttons with that red heart on it. And really, there's the heart and soul and part of the fabric. People like Liz, Tom, Tim Hansen, I've had the privilege of working with all of them. And the trustees, Trustee Langen, who's here tonight, really have exposed me to so much. But in terms of execution, things are decided here, but they're executed by our excellent village staff, starting with Finance Department under Lou, who's both our finance director and village treasurer. And every year, since I've been here, and that's only 8, and up at the dais, that budget wins the award, which is in its 25th year. So that's a testament to execution that, much like the clerk, isn't above the radar. The work that's being done is very important contribution, not just to the village board, but to other staff. All the departments have to do their budget every year, and they project that out for 5 years. So it's kind of the village economic Bible, if you will, financial Bible. So Lou, thank you and your team, but thank you for your leadership. Andre, heading up administration, what an outstanding job. Our first chance meeting was the meeting I just described, and then obviously I came to know you in a different way, both as assistant village manager and then village manager. But your contribution, both as assistant, and you really were the project manager for that Stone Avenue station, which had more moving parts than the locomotives running down those tracks. Really did, and you did an outstanding job of coordinating and executing. So thank you. Thank you for your tireless service. And sometimes go by at night, those lights are still on. Like, that lady needs to take some time. So thank you. Charity, one addition. You know, there are what I call in our village team golden assets. A couple of them I just mentioned. But your team, yourself and your team and your leadership, the Community Development Commission, working liaison with the Plan Commission, Design Review Commission, all the people in town that are pulling building permits, doing additions, doing enhancements, new buildings, new residential buildings being built. I mean, there's more moving parts than we can appreciate. And you and your team are doing an outstanding job, both on an everyday level, but then you're attending those meetings at night, not just this meeting, but Plan Commission meetings, Design Review meetings. So, excellent. Thank you. Mike, your service, just outstanding. Our Public Works Department works constantly. We go home, another ship takes over with these guys. And all of us are so dependent on your services, your leadership, and Ryan's when he was part of the team. Excellent. We count on you every day, no matter what season. And as Bill said on the way in the meeting, I think it was it Dave? That we had several winters this season. And you guys were on top of it. Okay. Sewers, we only notice when there's a problem. These guys are our problem solvers, but your leadership, invaluable. And public safety. Harry, pleasure to welcome you last year as the new fire chief. We've had a couple of conversations. I've had the opportunity. One of the best parts of being clerk is the opportunity to administer oaths to the new people joining both the fire department and the police department. So, Jason, Rob, thank you for your service again, 24/7. We only notice by exception. What we don't notice is you guys are there all the time, and your team is there all the time, making that sacrifice, okay? Those kinds of things go unnoticed. We heard a little bit about the training that's required just to be sworn in, but those new officers now will go through another 14 weeks of field training with experienced officers, all through our betterment. So this is all a part of the fabric of the community, and it's all things that need to be recognized and valued, because that's what makes Lagrange. That's really, these are things that are in our fabric. Why is Lagrange looked to? Because of not just things that are decided here, but how they're executed. So, I also wanted to acknowledge other partners, Lagrange Business Association, their investment, okay, in not just financial, but in terms of time, and their volunteering for various events, and all helping to promote Lagrange, the Lagrange that we know as our town. So people, Dave mentioned Steve Palmer, Jerry Verjan, John Rott. These are people that are contributing all the time, make up part of our community. The Grange Hospital, of which I'm an alum, okay? But what a community asset. And again, you don't notice it until you need it or a family member needs it, but it's there for us. So thank you. Other kind of organizations, mostly under the radar till you're asked to serve on them or use them as a resource. The Citizens Council, okay? They come into being when it's election time. And what they do is they interview and then recommend candidates for trustees, village president, clerk, et cetera, and other commissions. So it's, you're looking for an opportunity to serve, that's a place for valuable information. So one of the other things that the clerk gets to do, besides swearing in new officers and new trustees, new clerk, new president, is occasionally kids visit. And sometimes we have them do the pledge, and sometimes we give them a little tour before the board meeting. And it's really a wonderful time to have kids in the village hall, okay? Because they bring a whole element that is kind of missing from this, which is animation, noise, quiet, and questions. So those are just some of the things that you get to do as clerk, which are kind of fun, another element. So with that, I want to especially thank those people that have been big influences for me. The three former presidents sitting with us, Tim Hansen, Liz Asperger, Tom Livingston. I also want to thank a big influence on me, Janine McLaughlin and Nancy Kenny. And just coincidentally, I started my volunteer service with the Historical Society coterminous when I was elected. Somehow those two things happened substantially, but that's when I started thinking about, doing kind of educational things with the information that I was getting. So a big thank you to them. So, most importantly, I want to thank my lovely, supportive, and very patient wife, Judy, because without her support and endorsement, I wouldn't be here. Thank you.
Very well said, John. And the plug to have residents serve on the Citizens Councils, a classic John Burns comment, persuasion. When he does talk, it's always to move the village forward, and it's just great. At this time, I'd ask Judy to stand so that we can acknowledge her sacrifices. Thank you, Judy. And so I will now read the recital for John. Whereas John Burns has served as village clerk for 8 years, from 2013 to 2021, and served on the Economic Development Redevelopment Commission from 1993 to 1999, including chair from 1995 to 1999, generously sharing his time and experience for the betterment of the village. John has faithfully executed the duties of the village clerk while also providing meaningful input and insight into matters of importance to the community. In addition to serving as village clerk, John served as tireless ambassador for the village. His efforts on behalf of our residents, our business community, the many service organizations in Lagrange, and the Lagrange Area Historical Society have resulted in an improved quality of life for everyone in the village. John unselfishly gave countless hours of his time imparting his knowledge of the history of the village by conducting historical tours of the downtown, train stations, homes, and people of Lagrange. John's commitment to preserving Lagrange's history contributed to the village receiving the landmark Illinois Richard Dreyhouse Foundation Preservation Award for the restoration of the Stone Avenue train station in 2016. John's steadfastly cheerful demeanor and professional, caring approach have had a positive impact on the village. John's exceptional commitment to the duties of village clerk and public service has set an outstanding example for all citizens and elected officials to follow. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the village president and board of trustees extend their deep appreciation and thanks to John Burns for his service as he retires from the office of village clerk. And if we could have a motion on that?
I'd like to move to approve the resolution of appreciation for John Burns.
I'll second.
Thank you, Trustee McCarty, and I'll let Trustee Holder do the second since it will be his last vote up here. I guess never say never, but I believe it may be his last vote. So all in there, I guess I will do the roll call so John doesn't have to, or unless you want to do your last one. You decide.
No, I defer to the president.
Trustee Augustine, I'll even make my notes.
Aye.
Trustee Gale.
Aye.
Trustee Holder.
Aye.
Trustee Kutinik.
Aye.
Trustee McCarty.
Aye.
Trustee McGee.
Aye.
And it passes unanimously. Before these fine gentlemen leave us and the dais, staff and the village board do have a token of our appreciation for them. And as I hand them out, I'm going to hand out a picture to Dave McCarty. And it's actually a picture that shows not only the Lagrange Golf Course from a long time ago, but also the McCarty House is one of the few houses that was constructed at the time. So Dave, and our appreciation for you and all the hard work. Thank you. Next, I give a picture to John Burns, and this is of the Stone Avenue train station. And staff and myself picked this picture because John was so instrumental in the development, redevelopment, rehabilitation of the train station. We thought it would be very fitting, and we hope that it looks good in your office or at your home. Thank you. Thank you. We have a picture for Bill of the Village Hall. And staff and myself picked this picture because of the amount of effort that Bill put into governance and the hard work that he always put in to prepare for the meetings, to help us do better on behalf of all the residents. So thank you, Bill. All right. At this time, I would ask the retiring trustees to step down, and Clerk Burns will step down also, as well as Lou and I, so that we can be sworn in. And then we'll all come back into our appropriate seats. Yep, Shawana, sorry. And Mike, you guys may all want to get up because you're all moving. Start up. Peterson family, come on up.
Yeah. All right, good to see you.
Come on in.
Oh, he's giving it to Dave McCarty.
Peggy, welcome. If you would raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Peggy Peterson,
I, Peggy Peterson,
having been elected
to
to the office of trustee
the office of trustee
in the village of Lagrange
in the village of Lagrange
in the county of Cook,
in the county of Cook,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution
and the Constitution
of the state of Illinois,
of the state of Illinois,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and that I will faithfully discharge
the duties of the office of trustee
the duties of the office of trustee
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Congratulations and welcome once again.
Hi.
So I want to make sure that everybody gets the picture here. So if you do the composition and you're checking, is everybody in the picture? So now, welcome. Mike, if you would raise your right hand and repeat after me. I,
I,
Mike Matucci, having been elected to the office of trustee
having been elected to the office of trustee
in the village of Lagrange
in the village of Lagrange
in the county of Cook,
in the county of Cook,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution
and the Constitution
of the state of Illinois,
of the state of Illinois,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and that I will faithfully discharge
the duties of the office of trustees
the duties of the office of trustees
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Congratulations. Okay, all right.
Mike, you gotta come. Yeah. We'll all get on the mic.
You're second. It's the last.
Juana did.
Paul after you. Shawana?
Shawana.
Shawana and then Lou.
And Lou. Hey, how are you?
All world.
Well, welcome back. Thank you for your time.
Juana, John.
So, Shawana, if If you would repeat after me, I, Shawana McGee,
I, Shawana McGee,
having been elected to the office of trustee
having been elected to the office of trustee
in the village of Lagrange,
in the village of Lagrange,
in the county of Cook,
in the county of Cook,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution
and the Constitution
of the state of Illinois,
of the state of Illinois,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and I will faithfully discharge
the duties of the office of trustee
the duties of the office of trustee
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
And we know you will. Thank you. You need the microphone?
Why not? You come closer. You can like,
Yeah.
don't have to like. Don't be shy.
Yeah, we want to get, that's it, we want to get the whole family. Okay,
You're gonna stand over there? Okay. Whatever.
so you know the drill.
I know the drill.
I, Lou Gale,
I, Lou Gale,
having been re-elected to the office of trustee
having been re-elected to the office of trustee
in the village of Lagrange,
in the village of Lagrange,
in the county of Cook,
in the county of Cook,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution
and the Constitution
of the state of Illinois,
of the state of Illinois,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and that I will faithfully discharge
the duties of the office of trustee
the duties of the office of trustee
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Congratulations again.
Hey, Mark.
I feel like I should tell jokes or something. I don't know if is it on?
Yes, it is.
All right.
It's on.
I'll try not to. It's awesome.
Um, I, Mark Kukler,
I, Mark Kukler,
having been re-elected to the office of president
having been re-elected to the office of president
in the village of Lagrange,
in the village of Lagrange,
the county of Cook,
county of Cook,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution
and the Constitution
of the state of Illinois,
of the state of Illinois,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and that I will faithfully discharge
the duties of the office
the duties of the office
of village president
of village president
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
And we know you will. Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you. One more.
Yeah.
And one more.
Yes. It's a pleasure. Well, welcome.
Thank you, John.
And as I said before, this is probably the best part of fulfilling the office of village clerk is being able to swear in both public service officers, but also esteemed trustees, president, and village clerk. So if you would raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Paul Saladino,
Paul Saladino,
having been elected
to
the office of clerk
the office of clerk
in the village of Lagrange
in the village of Lagrange
in the county of Cook,
in the county of Cook,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
of the United States and the Constitution of the state of Illinois, and that I will faithfully discharge
and that I will faithfully discharge
the duties of the office
of
village clerk
village clerk
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my abilities.
And we know you will. Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
All right, you ready? Okay, we're back. Welcome to our two new trustees, our new village clerk. That's awesome. We've moved, as the more senior, moved closer to the center, and we have our new trustees on the outside. And of course, Clerk Saladino next to me, and responsible for keeping me kind of moving forward. So you got some big shoes to fill, but I know you'll do it. At this time, I would ask if there's any public comments on matters not on the agenda. Please come to the microphone. And Becky, just as you know, the TV camera's on, so if you could state your names and addresses, that'd be great, and then please continue.
Thanks. I'm Becky Lorenzen, and this is my husband.
Harold Gibson.
And we live at 103 East Cossett, right around the corner here in Lagrange.
And President Kosner and the new trustees on behalf of the Baha'i Faith and the Grange.
I'm sorry, if you could talk in the microphone. I'm having trouble hearing.
All right, if I remove my
Sure.
mic.
Thank you.
Okay, that we would like to, first of all, thank Mark Kosner, president, and also to welcome the new trustees and the trustees that are still standing on their new adventure, because it's going to be quite an interesting ride for you folks. I know it is. But also, too, is we do this on behalf of the Baha'i Faith and also the Community Diversity Group and of Lagrange. And I will turn it over to my wife, Becky, because she's the one who worked so hard on this part of the program that we're talking about.
Yeah. So, you know, along with community diversity, we became aware of an opportunity that the state of Illinois, well, there's a national, I'm not reading from my notes, there's a national organization which is called the Center for Race Amity, and it recognizes how races work together for the betterment of everybody in their community. There's currently an effort going on where we're asking different organizations and people to support asking Governor Pritzker to declare the second Sunday in June as Race Amity Day. Those of you that were previous trustees, I sent an email with some background information, so at least you know what I was talking about. And there's a link in there that you can use to support it if you so choose. So we're just asking whether you as individuals or as a group of trustees here in Lagrange would consider supporting that effort to ask Governor Pritzker to declare the second Sunday in June as Race Amity Day. And there's some background information at a website called raceamity.org. And I actually have the proclamation, but in interest of the time, I know you've all been here for a long time, it's attached to the email. There's a link in the email that you would just, as a village, would click on and put the village name in the first and last names of the field, or as individuals, you can put your first and last names there. So we're just asking for your consideration in that effort. Does anyone have any questions?
Thank you, Becky. And you and I have had the chance to talk about this. At your suggestion, I did go ahead and sign the petition on behalf of myself as president, though. And if everybody's comfortable, we can direct staff to sign the petition on behalf of the village. Can I get a nod if everybody's comfortable with that? Terrific. And then we'll go ahead in the village, we'll sign to support it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for bringing it to our attention. We appreciate it, and we appreciate all the work you do in the community, as well as everyone with the Community Diversity Group. They're really one of the strong pillars that make Lagrange so unique. So thanks again for all your efforts. We much appreciate it. At this time, I would ask if there's any trustee comments. Well, that's a good sign. The new trustees haven't been waiting for years to bring up anything. But Beth has some comments. Okay.
Sorry, this is our thing now. It's you missing me when I respond.
Yes, I have to check my peripheral vision.
I think I do usually do this, and I apologize again because it's been a long night. But I wanted to say this. I've been thinking about this for the last week. It's not what anyone's expecting, of course, but I wanted to say that please water your baby trees, everybody. If you do not have a small new tree in your parkway or your neighbor's parkway right now, I'd be surprised. We've lost a lot of trees lately. It's expensive to maintain them, to plant them, and to nurture them, and all the village is asking you to do is fill those bags up twice a week throughout September. And if you don't, they won't make it. So that's the little bit of thing that we can do for our community. So if you don't see your neighbor doing it, or maybe they can't, offer to do it for them or nudge them nicely. And I just think it's super important when we have these wonderful parkway trees, but it doesn't happen without us doing that small part. And that's it.
Thank you, Trustee Augustine. Any other trustee comments? All right, then I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Trustee Kotinik. Thank you, Trustee Gale. And if we could have Clerk Saladino call a voice vote at 9:51 on the motion to adjourn.
All those in favor to adjourn, say aye.
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 Any opposed?
All right, the meeting's adjourned. Clerk Saladino's jumping right in where John left off, and fantastic. Thanks, everybody. All right.